Welcome to the BitGeek podcast. I'm your host, Ron Avis, and sitting with me to my left is my co-host, the Prince of Pixels,
Nick Wright.
Also joining us in the third chair is the big daddy of Mommy's Best Games,
Nathan Fouts.
And today we're going to preview Pig Eat Ball. This is pretty exciting, Nick. Today we got a guest for the first time who's not somebody that we know that goes back really, far back. We actually have like a real guest this time. Someone a professional who we know a little bit, but
No, we met a few years ago. Indie game developer.
Yeah, Nathan Fouts.
Hey.
And you are you are, as I'd said early at the top of the intro, you are the big daddy of Mommy's Best Games, which you guys have been around for quite a long time. And I didn't know that. See, I recognize you from the local arcade expo that we all attend every year.
Louisville Arcade Expo.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Louisville Arcade Expo is great. Big recommend to that. Comes around every March.
Yeah,
so fun.
Usually around the first week or so of March. Mm-hmm. But I met you there because there is an indie developer game. There's a presence there. Mm-hmm. And Nick himself, has been a part of a group of guys who, have put a game out, and they're, and we tend to kind of all know each other just because of, I know Nick really well, obviously, so I get to know some of these other guys, right, and yourself included. And you had this like really interesting little game on demoed. And it was like, what is this? I remember there was like some force feedback chairs.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, the first time I ever met him, that was like the big thing. Was like getting us to sit in
2013, 2014.
It was around
years.
I want to say it was like 2013, 2014 because you also had another game there that you were showing off. I remember Serious Sam.
Serious Sam Double D XXL. We published that through Devolver Digital. So we did that one on Steam. We did that on Xbox 360.
Right.
On Xbox Live Arcade, not just Xbox Live indie games.
Yeah.
So that was a big deal.
You published games on a lot of different platforms. It's pretty impressive, man. You're a very prolific developer.
Yeah. I've made a bunch. Pig Eat Ball is going to be our 8th game. It's coming out, for Steam, September 27th.
Yeah, we're really excited about that. Nick and I are both backers on Fig.
Thank you, guys. That helps.
But anyways, going back to the you yourself, what is it about like game development? Like, how did you get involved with game development for start?
So I went to college. Fortunately, got to go to college, and I thought it was cool to be a scientist. I love science, and I was studying physics.
You remind me of Bill Nye. You have a Bill Nye look to you.
Bill Nye the Science Guy.
I've gotten that before.
Okay.
I don't mind because I think Bill Nye's amazing.
He's awesome.
And
it's not a pejorative thing.
No, putting out, and helping people get excited about science. I love that too. So I love nature and learning about physics and chemistry and everything. And I was not sure how I was going to make a living studying physics. And a prerequisite to physics was computer science. So this is like 1994. And I had to take a class, and I took a class, and I didn't fail it, but I didn't do well. It was really, really bad. So it was a programming class. I'd never programmed before, but I loved games growing up. And I was halfway through the class, and I was getting a C, which usually my grades were good. I usually had A's. And then it had all been theoretical. Half of the semester was theoretical in programming. Reading books and just writing down, what the answers we thought they were going to be. Halfway through, we actually had to do a project. And we started getting into actual programming projects. And the last project in that class it wasn't a game. They called it a box moving game. They said box moving game. They're like, get the box into the bucket. And that's all you had to do.
Get Bessie out of the yard or whatever.
Yeah, and this was in Pascal, right? This was in Pascal that we were learning back then, and which is a good programming language for learning. Because it's got some guardrails, it's not super hard, it's pretty fun. I mean, nowadays I would say C# is the way to go if you're learning. But so all you had to do was you had to draw the box with like the vector graphics back then, and you had to draw the little bucket. And so once I got into it, started to understand it, I had like 20 different enemies and all kinds of things moving around, and everybody else's looked the same. It was a box and a bucket, and mine had like spaceships going by and all kinds of stuff. I was drawing out of vector graphics, and then we had to print the code, and in front of the whole class, mine's going games, 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 games. It just keeps like stacking up, and the professor's like, I need to talk to you about arrays. I'm like, oh, cool, what's arrays?
Yeah.
And he's like, and it was like I had to hand code like 20 different enemies and they were all the same. I didn't know of anything. After that class, though, I was just like, I studied physics. I got a major in physics, but I went nuts with computer science. So at Wabash College.
It all kind of goes well together, though, really.
Yeah, no, it was good. It was good. But from that point on, I actually minored in computer science. I didn't even get a major.
It's funny, like, what I went to school for is not anywhere where I ended up. So sometimes it's those little assignments in college that gets your interest piqued, and you start to pursue that because you just like it a little better. Or in your case, you were like, well, maybe I can make more money like this, or maybe I'll just be happier as a game developer.
Well, I mean, it's great. Like college can be great because it exposes you to different areas, right? And it kind of forces you to deep dive into different things, and then you might notice something like you said, like, oh, that's actually exciting. I'm really interested in that.
Yeah.
Like nowadays, isn't it weird that in school, somebody would tell you have to read this book or you have to study this thing, and you get mad about it.
Yeah.
But as adults, like, you're seeking out knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
You're wanting to read books. You know what I mean? Because you're interested in that. So I think that's good.
Yeah, because, well, that, like you said, you're interested in that, and when you're in school, like, somebody tells you have to do something, this is not as fun.
Yeah.
Tell me about Mommy's Best Games. When did that company become about? Like, when did you found that?
Founded that in 2007. So you can go to mommysbestgames.com. We started that. Before that, I worked in AAA for a while. I was at Insomniac Games.
Oh, cool.
I did the weapons.
I've heard of them.
Yeah, you've heard of them? They're pretty big right now,
They got
right?
a little game out right now called Spider-Man.
Yeah, that Spider-Man game is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we did a launch title for the PlayStation 3 called Resistance Fall of Man.
Oh, yeah.
And I designed and programmed the weapons in that game. And that was a big deal, and that was a lot of fun to play. The development was awful because it was a launch title, and Sony was nuts about like how hard it was going to be, and they wanted to make it like really good.
I heard that the PlayStation 3 was difficult to program for too.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. But I was just a gameplay programmer, so fortunately the engine programmers made our jobs a little bit easier. They had to really get down to the metal. We didn't have to do it as much, but our job was still hard because even as a gameplay programmer, we had to push as hard as we could to make the optimizations as good as possible. So it was tough. It was a tough project, mainly because they wanted the PS3 to shine, and it did. There's like
I think you guys did great. Resistance 3 is a fun game.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, in that they got amazing programmers there, so they're really good. But
for sure.
Yeah, it was fun. So we founded. I split off from there and went indie in 2007. So my wife is a co-owner, Amy Fouts, and she does the business side of things.
I've met her. She's very nice.
Thank you. And yeah.
So she's a co-designer?
She does. She actually, so Finger Derpy is a mobile game that we made a little while back. You can download it for free, Finger Derpy.
It's really derpy. It's a cute little game.
Yeah, like your fingers are all crazy.
I like Derpy.
Horse racing.
You're really, I've noticed, you really have really creative names.
Thanks. I will tell you, fun fact on Shoot One Up, one of our older but really popular indie games. Shoot One Up was going to be called Actuarial Phalanx. And my wife put the kibosh on that, fortunately. Like an actuary and a phalanx, and she was like, that is the dumbest name I've ever heard of. That's really terrible.
Yeah, but if somebody sees that in like the game store, like wouldn't you just be interested in like seeing what that was all about?
Shoot One Up's really catchy too.
It's
because
good.
at the time when it came out, oneup.com was an actual gaming site. It's a
I
pretty
remember
old game.
that.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Right?
They were an offshoot of EGM, right?
Yeah. And then people thought it was hilarious. They were like, yeah, Shoot One Up. They wanted to stop it. And so Shoot One Up was actually in 2010.
Yep.
And that game's available on Steam. It's a shoot 'em up, but you control all your spaceships at the same time. And you can have up to 30 ships at once. I really love shoot 'em ups. So I
noticed, yeah. I can tell. I love shoot 'em ups too. It's like a bygone day of 16-bit style games. One of my favorite consoles was the TurboGrafx 16, and it had tons and tons of fun shoot 'em up games.
Man, Lords of Thunder is amazing. I love that. I mean, that's like a disc game or whatever, but that
Blazing Lasers is my jam.
Blazing Lasers, there you go.
That's a good one.
That's a good one too. Yeah. So we did a bunch of games over the years there. We started on the Xbox Live indie game scene. So, and actually we were, our very first game, Weapon of Choice, was a launch title on what they then called Community Games.
Oh, wow.
And so Microsoft invited us out west to San Francisco to a big party. We got to be there at the launch party for Community Games. It was a big deal. It was really cool.
I bet.
Sean Baby was there at the
Sean
party.
Baby, yeah, I've heard of
He
him.
was just he was just like in the crowd, and he came over and played the game and thought it was funny. Yeah, it was fun to meet him. Yeah,
That's so cool. You're a pretty well-connected guy. I mean, you just came from PAX West just a couple of weeks ago.
My arms are tired.
Yeah. I don't want to get too far ahead because I wanted to talk about, Mommy's Best Games a little bit. You have all these games like 2008, 2009. Did you have 2 games released in 2010?
Yeah, that was nuts. That was a really crazy year. I did Shoot One Up in February, and we released Explosionade
I love
in
that name
October.
so much.
Explosionade. When life
It sounds
gives
refreshing,
when life
yeah.
gives you lemons, make Explosionade. Yeah. So.
Now, Insomniac, they kind of strike me as like a team that was a real crazy sense of humor, and like I can tell like you come from that.
I fit in really well there.
Yeah.
And before that, I was at Running with Scissors, and we made the Postal series.
Oh, wow, cool.
Yeah, so I was a lead gameplay programmer on Postal 2.
Awesome.
So I was the weapons guy, I was the artificial intelligence guy, and I was the fluids guy. So I programmed all the pee, and the napalm, and the fire, and the barf. I programmed so many things there.
The barf.
I've programmed barf.
We'll talk about the barf.
I programmed barf a lot of times in a video game. Like a lot more than anybody else even
In
can
Piggy
imagine.
Ball, the barf makes me so nauseous. Like,
Oh, no!
It's great. It's like that Ren and Stimpy nauseous though.
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is great. I can see how kids will just love it so much. Do you do the sound effects and everything yourself?
So, yes, but
Is that you going?
no. So what I do is I pay for some sounds, but I'll Foley some sounds in the office there. I'll do a blend, and so I've just learned over the years mixing and blending sounds and making them sound good. And
Your games sound amazing.
thanks. I've paid people for sound effects before, but I haven't found anybody yet that can do a better job at a reasonable price.
Yeah.
I paid people way too much on Serious Sam for a while there, and they were only doing not even as good. And
I was going to ask you because there's quite a bit of voice acting in that game.
Okay, the voice acting is amazing. I didn't do any of that.
It is.
Devolver
quite
paid for
good.
that, and the guy they got for Huff, the second player guy is hilarious.
Yeah.
He's insane. The commercial for Serious Sam, the gun stacker, you should watch it if you haven't.
I only love 3 things in this world. Rollerblading, squirrel jerky, and my mom's ex-boyfriend, Leon. Oh yeah, and guns.
I mean, it's the funniest commercial I can possibly think of. And it got made for my game, and Devolver was like, they loved it. It was so cool. I mean, the commercial is incredible. So the guy for Huff is insane. Like, he's absolutely amazing. And,
That's so great.
and we had so much leftover voiceover stuff. I tried to put it in as many places as I could because he was just so funny. They were just like letting him run. And when he dies, he does all this, oh my gosh, so much funny death, dying and complaining and stuff. He's amazing.
That's amazing. Now, do you compose the music yourself too?
No. I'm terrible at music. Okay. We should definitely try to sing later, though, together. It'll be great.
What's a song with like 3 people in it?
Yeah, we could do a little acapella. Yeah, it'd be great. We should do like the beatbox version of Mario, but no. I'm terrible at music.
I'm game, Nick.
Yeah.
It can't be as bad as when we sang the Toys
Toys
R Us.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It wasn't that bad, Mark. It wasn't that bad. We were doing Skype. We had syncing issues.
So for the music, I've got a longtime friend, Hamdia Ayanovic. He's American. He's his family's foreign, but anyway, he's a great musician.
Sounds American inspired.
Yeah. Hamdia, yeah, he's a cool dude, and he lives out in Arizona, and he's done all our music over the years. And
Were you from Arizona? Is that where you?
I'm actually from here. I'm
okay.
from Southern Indiana, but I used to work and live in Tucson for a while. That was when I was doing the Running with Scissors gig.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah, we're so lucky to have you here as a local indie developer. I mean, the scene
I worked in
has
Florida.
elevated the profile thanks to you quite a bit. I think.
Well, I threw the first game party here. The first party that we had to organize all local indie devs is the one I threw at the barbershop. So it was the first launch Serious Sam. So that was 2011 is when the game came out, and then 2013 we did it for XBLA. So I found John Meister in Lexington, I found Frog Dice guys, Michael Hartman. They do a bunch of games over there. They're a big deal over there in Lexington. Mm-hmm. And then I found some guys in Bloomington, the Studio Cypher guys, Will and Ian and them, and Nathan Mitchell are up north. And some other guys from around Southern Indiana. Invited everybody over to Louisville. We had a little party there for the public.
Yeah.
To try to say that we had like local indie developers. So yeah, it was cool. That was a while ago.
One of my goals is to try and get some more local creators, whether it be, video game creators or, cosplayers, whatever. It would be really neat to start highlighting, like showing off some of the local talent, because the scene around here is pretty amazing.
It's coming along. It's fun. Yeah. So.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned that what role does your wife play in Mommy's Best Games?
For Mommy's Best Games.
Since she's the mommy, I guess.
Yeah, she's the mom. Yeah, so she is the business side and also essentially like a producer role.
Okay.
So she kind of keeps me on track.
Keeps the money and stuff. And
keeps the money going and also make sure, are you sure you need to work on the barf effects in this game more? You know what I mean? Like those kind of questions.
We're going to go harder, lean in on the barf effects.
Yeah, lean in on the barf. But also, like for Finger Derpy, she contributed to the design and she plays the games. Like the kids play test the games. So
that's awesome.
It's kind of a family affair that way. Yeah.
My son is 7, and I believe you have a 7-year-old as well.
Yeah.
And whenever the first day of school, and they'll have like, what is it you want to be? I think he always puts game developer because he loves video games. Like it's everything to him right now.
Well, I always tell kids study art or study programming. Because you can definitely use that somewhere.
You read my mind. I was going to say, what advice would you give to a small kid?
Yeah, definitely stick. Game design is so niche. If you get fired, I don't know what you're going to do.
So I want to talk to you because I've never talked to anybody that's released a game on such a large scale, like Xbox. I'm a console gamer. I've played a little bit of, Steam, but not much. It's strictly like PlayStation, Xbox. Which, by the way, the Piggy Ball is going to be released eventually for PlayStation 4 and Xbox
PS4,
One.
Xbox One. Yep.
I'm going to go ahead and nail you down right here. I got to ask you this. Is there any chance it could come out for Nintendo Switch?
Write Reggie and ask for the game.
Oh, okay.
We'll see.
All right. Well, they talk about how they're trying to kind of cultivate this real indie-friendly, like with the NIMBYs and...
Yeah. There's a lot of cool stuff on the Switch for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. And
I had to ask because Nick and I are both like huge Nintendo guys.
Oh yeah,
I would love to play Piggy Ball on the Switch.
I like to say that Piggy Ball is just like Mario Galaxy, except for not at all.
Except with vomiting and pigs and and lots of pill bugs.
Exactly, it's got a high level structure that's similar to the Mario Galaxy games.
It's every bit as imaginative as Mario Galaxy.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah. Where I was going to go with that partially was, when you see you put all this blood, sweat, and tears into a game. And then you put it out there and you cross your fingers that it's going to hit. And so you start reading reviews. And I was seeing that, your games were reviewed by some pretty notable, the games media. Destructoid, GameSpot. I was really impressed to read all of the nice things that they had to say. How do you handle that, the success, and also how do you handle when somebody has like something negative to say, like graphics are too bland or the enemies are very smart? Or how do you take that?
It's tough, but if it's positive, I just it's great.
Yeah,
But if it's negative, what I usually try to do is
find out where they live.
Yeah, find out where they live and throw toilet paper at their house. I just try to ask them, in a detailed way, what was it that they had a problem with, and if there's anything that I could do to the game to actually make it better for them. Is there something, in a game you've got these essentially these pillars of design that you can't move. Yeah. So like a core aspect in Shoot One Up is it's a shooting game. Like if you don't like shooting games, you're not going to like this game.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not a match 3 game. So if they hate shooting games, they're not going to like it. Right. So if they complain about that, I just say, well, you're right. You should not play this game. But if they say, oh, the graphics are bad or something like that, I can think about, well, maybe I can do something about that. So I usually kind of drill down on, well, what is it? If they just say, this sucks, if I don't actually personally get to engage with them and get anything more out of them, I just move on.
Would your wife then basically have like start seeing red flames in her eyes? Would she go after that person since she's kind of the business?
we stick with don't read the comments.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Oh
Like,
my gosh, you're right. You're absolutely right.
We stick with that philosophy.
Nothing good can ever come of reading
Yeah,
the comments.
it's scary.
People
It's scary.
are just mean for no good reason. There was this one really interesting quote, and I didn't have the writer's name, but someone from GameSpot, and I think it was for, it might have been for Shoot One Up or Explosion 8. I'm sorry.
I'm getting ready for a spit take.
No, but he says, Nathan Fouts of Mommy's Best Game is certainly one of the leading developers for the XBL's indie channel. And I thought that really spoke volumes.
Thanks.
You're like,
nice, yeah.
you know, you're a leader. You know, they see
Yeah.
you as that.
At the time, like when we had the Xbox Live Indie channel, yeah, I mean, what Mommy's Best was a big deal. So
Yeah.
And now it's like disseminated, like split apart into all kinds, going every which way. And so that XNA scene was really fun, and the people there were just amazing. Like, I mean, we were there on the internet, but even being on the internet, it worked really well. So I still run into people. I just saw James and Michelle from Sky Studios out at PAX West, and I still keep up with Luke Schneider. He was Radiant Games.
Yeah.
So they were Sky Studios. He was Radiant Games. He's working on, I think it's called Overload. It's a really cool Descent.
Overload. I've heard of that.
Descent style game. It looks amazing. Look up Descent Clone. Just look up Descent Clone. I think it's called Overload. It's really cool.
I've heard of that. That rings a bell.
Yeah, so Luke Snyder, he's a really cool dude. He was in XNA for a while, and there's just a lot of cool XNA people, and I still keep up with them. They're great. So.
Speaking of Xbox, the achievements. Did your games have achievements? Did they make you put achievements in the games?
No, we actually could not put achievements in the game.
No.
But they didn't access the main system. But we still did put achievements in the game. So they were local to the game itself.
Okay.
So they wouldn't contribute. That was a big sticking point, was we could never actually assign gamer tag, gamer score kind of points from our games. Because for the longest time, and they may have changed it at the end there, but early on we weren't able to do that. And so we would just kind of make up our own thing.
And what about for Piggy Ball? Will that have?
Piggy Ball has official achievements. It's going to have trophies. It's actually got a platinum trophy.
Oh
for
my
PS4.
God! You have a platinum
Yeah,
trophy.
I
I
know.
was going to ask you. That's amazing because not everybody puts a platinum trophy.
No,
in
they
it.
don't. And I was talking to Sony, and they were like, I said I've got 50 odd achievements for the game, and they were like, oh, I don't know, and they said, you know what, you can do it. So they said normally they like reserve it for really big games, and they're like, you got plenty of stuff, go for it. So
That is
awesome.
so smart of you to do because there are so many people out there that will play a game to earn a trophy, a platinum.
It's fun. I love achievements. You know what I mean? Like when it's a little side thing and something kind of interesting. When
I
they're
wish
well designed.
Nintendo would get on board with that.
I know, they're fun. So
It gives you something to focus on, to like a goal to achieve.
yeah, a little extra goal. You know what I mean? Like it's fun. Achievement design's fun.
Well, yeah, because you'll beat a game and then you just get more out of it.
It's a reason to keep going.
Yeah.
So that's really amazing that you've got a platinum trophy that's going to go.
Yeah. I'm excited.
Well, I want to move. I want to shift now finally to Piggy Ball. Can you explain what is Piggy Ball? just like your elevator pitch.
The elevator pitch is the main gameplay is like, imagine you're playing Pac-Man, but you get fatter while you eat. And so every level still has to have you eating all the balls to win the level, but there can be maze areas and you can get stuck in the maze. So how do you get out of the maze? Well, you barf your way out. So the little balls like still are traveling around the level and you have to squeeze through and then gobble them up still, but you kind of now have to prioritize how to get to them. That's the simplest levels in the game. From there, It's very, again, Mario-esque, that the design is every new level has a new little fun thing to figure out. So there's very early on, there's like a conveyor belt level, and then there's these pill bugs, and then there's spike balls, and then there's Pac-Man-esque ghosts. So there's these freaky looking ghosts that are all nasty that you can actually barf on, and then rip their skin off with your little cute mouth, and then they go screaming back to their shower.
Are you a horror fan by any chance?
I am. Okay. Yeah. Kind of nasty. My favorite horror is like 80s, practical effects, like from the 80s.
Like Cronenberg type
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, just even like early Peter Jackson, all the practical effects. I love that stuff. So
Preach on, brother. Practical effects all the way.
Yeah. I'm not into torture porn and stuff
Okay,
like
not
nowadays.
like the body
Not the what's that, like Hostel and stuff like that.
Yeah, the torture porn.
Yeah, but I like Cronenberg just because he's so weird and crazy. You know what I mean?
The Fly. I mean, if you're into practical effects,
love it. So
that's a classic.
Yeah. So we do homages to arcade games, classic arcade games in Piggy Ball. So the main structure of the game is 5 giant worlds, and I love this kind of stuff. Every time you get to a world in Piggy Ball, it's all original. So there's all new gameplay. There's all new objects.
Oh, that's great.
You know what I mean? It's not like palette shift enemies, and you're not fighting the same 5 enemies throughout the whole game.
So it's kind of one of those games where you gain like some mechanic, and you just bring that mechanic. You gain new mechanics as you go along because the game's getting harder, and you need these new mechanics.
So it's more like it's close. It's actually more like you're unlocking levels, and the mechanics are in them. So think Mario.
Okay.
Mario has no special gameplay. I mean, he's got his movement, right? And then he can get power-ups occasionally. Yeah. And that what happens is the level is crazy. So the level design is crazy. You get to the level in Mario, and like the waterfall is like blasting up, and there's fish going along the bottom or something. Or, now you're going down a hill and you're in the cave, and it's all, new enemies. Piggy Ball is more like that.
Okay.
So when you get to a new level, now there's bombs in the level. And you're like, ooh, bombs. I never played with bombs before in the game, And then, or you get to a new level, and now there's giant sriracha bottles rolling around, and you get to like push these around and solve puzzles with those. So it's more like the mechanics you kind of are exploring the depth of through the level design. And there's about 214 levels in the game. The main gameplay is about the single player is a nice, cool story, and it's about 8 to 12 hours long. And my favorite quote from everybody that's played it, I never get tired of hearing it. When they play it, they go, "That was actually fun."
That's surprising.
They're like really, they're like, maybe they thought it was going to be a gross out dollar game or something, and they don't get it. You know what I mean? But after they're like, "That was fun." I'm like, "Thank you. That's what I was going for."
Would you say that this is your most ambitious game to date?
Definitely, yeah. Serious Sam Double D XXL was our biggest game before.
Yep.
We've been working on this game for 5.5 years now. This is pretty long. Now, weirdly, I published Finger Derpy in there.
Yes,
During
you
that
have.
time,
Yes, you have.
I've published Emoji Scream. That's another mobile game you should download. And don't give it to your kids. Or do. It's the most annoying game ever made. Poo, 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 poo. Ah, poo. No. Emoji Scream. It's very cool. We had some. So we had some.
We're gonna put your email down at the bottom.
Yeah. We had some big streamers play it, like Cupquake. She's awesome, and she did Emoji Scream. She did Finger Derpy for us, so it was fun. But
Finger Derpy really is a cute little game.
It's great. It's got a 4-player mode. Yeah, you should play it.
Yeah.
So in the time that we've been working on Piggy Ball, I've actually been taking little breaks and making other games. So. Yeah.
You guys are prolific. I mean, you're like the Stephen King of the Ohio Valley indie game scene.
I hope I don't get hit and have a car wreck and
Oh no.
have to make a game about that. Yeah.
Oh, I wanted to talk about Fig because you started a crowdsourcing campaign about how long ago was it?
It was earlier this year.
Earlier this year.
Yeah.
What was that experience like? Is this the first time you've used?
I've never done crowdfunding, and they're different from Kickstarter because it's investment as well. And so they helped. They also handpicked the games, so it's not as crowded as Kickstarter.
Kickstarter's really crowded.
Yeah, I mean it's fine if it works out. But I'd stayed away. I'd never done. We've always been internally funded, and I've never done Kickstarter before. But they liked the game a lot and they wanted to do it, and so I agreed to it. And we ended up raising over $25,000 for it.
That's amazing.
So,
Congratulations.
yeah, thanks. Yeah, it was very hard, very stressful.
How crucial was the success of that campaign to getting the game out when it is coming out, just in a couple weeks?
The money helps, like for sure. You can't say no to that. And what it's helped us do is basically make the best version of the game that we could.
Absolutely.
So we took that money and we rolled it into some PR, and we've been able to pay for really high quality localization to make sure people get a good experience that way, and also actually just to pay people back pay. Yeah. We've been meaning to pay people, so
you gotta spend a little. You gotta invest in yourself.
Yeah,
So
it's helped.
You're like I said, you had a really good presence at the expo. Like this past year, you had this gigantic pill bug cut out where you could kind of stick your head through, and that was really adorable.
Thanks.
Did you so are you the main artist for all this stuff too?
Yep, main artist. Yeah, I do all the art, and so that I made for PlayStation Expo. So Sony invited us out to the PlayStation Expo out west there in December.
I wish I could just talk to you about that for hours.
Oh, it was amazing. It was a good show. I mean, it was actually one of the best conventions I've ever been to. I loved it. It was really well done, and everybody was super happy to play games and just really into it. The fans were amazing. So I do the marketing for our games as well, and so I was just I want to come up with something really funny and really wild for this show, and that's when I came up with. I'll give you a picture. That's why I came up with the double head cutout.
Yeah.
For the barfing pill bugs and Bo, and you and a friend get in there and barf on each other.
So gross.
I mean,
great.
I always like to come up with the most wild thing I can think of for conventions, so that they have a fun experience in real life. You know what I mean? You get some kind of new, because you can play my game at home. But what can you do if you meet me at the show? I want you to have a better time, you know what I mean, when you meet me at the show. So.
Remember the old days when you just pay a girl to stand out in front of your game?
I've been to those old days when I was running with scissors.
I miss those.
Yeah, at E3. Yeah, you can't have booth babes anymore, but we used to a long time ago.
E3, thanks for bringing that up. Have you been to an E3?
Oh, yeah. I think, when was my first one? 98? 99, something like that. Was that 98 the first year they did? Oh no, they went back. They moved around. Yeah, it moved around for a while there. So the first one I did some out in LA there, and
yeah, I went to Atlanta for a couple.
Yeah, yeah. I haven't been since they opened it up to the public. Just because it's gotten really big and it's gotten kind of this merger of public gaming. It's usually a business show, but yeah, there was some fun. There were some fun E3s back in there.
Yeah, the E3 is interesting. It was the Consumer Electronics Show, and then it sort of became E3, and it was all about the business side of things. But fans were always dying to catch a peek of what's it like behind the scenes.
It's different now because the internet's really, people just kind of keep releasing trailers straight to the internet, and so it kind of makes sense. You know what I mean? So it was just like a little time capsule. That time is gone. You know what I mean? But back in the '90s, it was pretty crazy. So It was a fun show.
Okay, so since you're our first official guest, I wanted to come up with some sort of new segment for the show for when we do have guests on, to kind of get to know the guest a little bit more, get a feel for what it is, what are they made of really, as gamers, and because I know from talking to you in the past, you're an OG gamer, and obviously you picked game development.
Can we get a flying logos?
I can make that happen, sure.
Yeah, and we're gonna call this feats of strength or
feats of strength. Test your might.
Yes.
So I'm just calling these parting questions. I don't know what I'm going to call it yet. But so I wanted to know what was the first arcade game you remember playing?
On a cabinet.
Yeah, on a cabinet.
The first machine had to be Moon Patrol.
Oh man, that is a good one. Yeah. That is a classic.
Yeah.
And I think they have that game.
They've got one at Zanzibar.
At Zanzibar,
nice. Yeah. I think I played it there at Zanzibar. That place is awesome.
It's amazing nowadays as adults. They actually have bars that are they cater to people who were kids when these games were in arcades. Now it's we have our own little adult bars to go to, and they have these little games.
They rotate games in and out though, so there's no telling if it's out right now or not. It's been a while since I've been.
If it's in the place there.
Yeah. There's a building next door where they.
Oh yeah, they got a lot of games there. That place is cool.
So they rotate their.
Yeah, because they have a warehouse somewhere nearby, right?
Yeah. It's a glorious time to be alive.
It is.
Arcade
it really
bars.
Is. I mean, there's never been more choices for gamers.
Yeah.
Well, you've been to Rec Bar, haven't you?
Yeah, I
haven't been there yet. Do they have?
Oh no, Rec Bar. No, I haven't been. I've just seen pictures that I think.
Yeah, I need to go to Rec Bar.
We gotta do
Absolutely.
this, man.
Well, I was trying to get you to go to trivia
Field
night.
trip.
Yeah. Okay, so that was the first game you were playing.
Yeah.
What's your favorite arcade game?
Favorite arcade game's got to be Robotron 2084.
Oh,
I'm actually pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm pretty good. So in the office at Running with Scissors, we had a machine in there, and the boss there, Mike Rydell, he was super into it also. He used to work at Atari, like long ago. He was a great guy. So he and I got into a fight playing the game, not fist. No, competition. And so we had actually cranked the game up to 10, like you can set the dip switches and stuff. So we had it on 10, and we had it on maybe like 3 lives or 1 life or something. And then the points was like 100,000 for a man. And we would play so long, we kept on bumping up the difficulty.
Oh, jeez.
And so he had this pretend $1 million bill. And you would get it, and you would steal it from the other person's office when you beat their score. But we were like way in the millions at that point, and nobody else's. Yeah, so we weren't getting a lot of work done back then.
So it's like a fantasy football trophy you guys would pass around.
We would take it. We did the walk in and say it is done. You know what I mean? Take the $1 million bill into your office. So Robotron, man, I love it.
I love twin stick shooters, and that's like the OG twin stick shooter right there.
So good.
Good choice. Okay, what was your first home console?
The Sega Master System.
The Sega Master System.
I'm a Sega guy.
Oh,
Man,
wow.
I thought he might get something like old school.
I thought for sure he was going to say the VCS.
So,
like Brown Box or something.
No. So all my friends had Ataris and ColecoVisions.
Right there.
And I would play, oh, there's a Sega Master System.
I like the Master System as well.
Yeah, I would play at friends' houses, and I was just enamored with it, but my dad wouldn't get this video game machine thing for us.
Right.
And I was
That's something
the
that Dad
eldest.
would say.
Yeah, and he's a science teacher, and he was just like, so what he did was he read up and found out the Sega Master System was more powerful than a Nintendo. And as a processor, you know what I mean? Like an article was published in the paper, and he was like, well, I've decided to get you the good one. And I was devastated because my friends were getting Nintendos. I was the one in 20 kid that had the Sega in town. And I ended up loving it, though, because I just loved Sega from then on out.
Well, here's where Sega would always get me. I was always a huge fan of their arcade games, and they had all the ports.
Yeah.
So I chose the Master System before I got an NES. Big mistake. I mean, I enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Shinobi was a huge fan of Shinobi,
man.
so I had to have
So
that
good.
on the Master System.
Yeah.
So that's a surprising and very welcome answer. That's really cool.
So I was busy playing Atari 2600.
Yeah, me too.
Did you? So you took it? Did you end up with a Nintendo or?
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
I got an Atari 2600 too. That was actually my first, and it was like one of those deals where we bought it at we didn't get it new. It was from a yard sale or something.
So 2600, yeah.
Yeah.
And I played Berserk at a friend's house on the on the Atari.
That's a good one. That's a
I
good
played the tank game. What was the tank
Combat.
Combat. Oh my gosh, that was so fun. The bouncing bullets. We loved that.
So
But I
those
would play
3
that-
planes flying in unison, that was like
They
inspiration.
just keep looping. Yeah, exactly. Shoot one up. Yeah, exactly.
something there.
It goes way back.
We're uncovering something here.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite home console? I'm going to go favorite home console game. We'll mix it up.
Well, favorite home console of all time is the Sega Genesis. And if anybody says otherwise, they're just wrong. But it's the best one.
Mega Drive.
The Mega Drive, yeah. The Sega Genesis is my favorite. And then home console game?
Yeah, well, what was your
Cartridge?
favorite Genesis game then?
Lightning Force. But it's not, so Thunder Force 4. And if you read the box art, it's not called Lightning Force. It's called Lightening Force.
Lightening?
Yes, so it's got a little English there in the title.
Now-
I don't know if it's a force that gets brighter, but it's supposed to be
It's
lightning.
there.
Yeah, it's supposed to be lightning, but they spelled it wrong. So,
It was
anyways,
just
Thunder Force 4 is amazing.
It's
really
that
good.
localization, I guess.
Yeah.
Now, was that the game that had this really amazing arcade cabinet that rotated around? Like, I think that had an arcade.
I'm thinking of like Galaxy Force.
Oh, maybe it was Galaxy.
Galaxy Force had you climb inside. Galaxy
Yeah.
Force 2, that was really cool.
Yeah,
that
like
was
a spear.
Yeah.
Well, Sega Genesis tried to have a port of it,
Yeah, the Sega Genesis Galaxy Force port was okay.
Yeah, it was
You know what I
fine,
mean?
yeah,
But they
yeah.
didn't have like Mode 7 and all that stuff. But
they
they
did
had
what
like
they
that super scaler
Yeah.
kind of math that they could do with like outrun and stuff. So they did that in Galaxy Force on the Sega
It was
Genesis.
perfectly fine back
But
in
Thunder
1989.
Force was a different series in like Thunder Force 2, 3, and 4, and Thunder Force 4 is my favorite.
That wasn't the helicopter game, was it?
No. This is like a side-scrolling science fiction game.
Okay.
And what was cool is they had a really interesting set of weapons. I always love game weapons that are wild.
It's the best part of the shoot 'em ups.
Yeah. And so Thunder Force 4 was cool, and it had absolutely insane heavy metal digitized music.
Oh
Yeah, it was amazing. You should hear it. Like the intro, you should play as loud as you possibly can.
I'm playing it right now in the video.
Yeah, and it's so good. Like it's like scrolls the letters across. It's absolutely insane. It's like kind of reminds me of like Contra 3, like the way they scroll. But this intro is so good, and the first level in there has so much scrolling parallax it will blow your mind.
Oh, I love.
If you get it on a giant screen, it's like VR. It's better than VR. VR can go away. It's so good. Yeah, no. This is way better. This is so good. So anyway.
All right, next question. You're doing great, by the way. What's your favorite like character sprite, like a classic character sprite? For example, like Pac-Man or like the Galaga ship. You know, like what springs to your mind when you?
I don't love Mega Man, but I will say I loved when Mega Man would like get close to a platform and his little foot would go ooh. You know what I mean? And he didn't do that thing where he like hovers over. He actually would go, and his little feet would come together. That's really cute. That's cool. But my favorite sprites are probably like the player character in Ernest Evans on the Sega Genesis, because he just looks like a big collection of gibberish, and he's insane. They did all this crazy math where the little sprites could connect together for this player. He's not a drawn sprite. He's all these little pieces. And he could roll, he could crawl, he could climb and swing. It's a mess.
What was the name of the game?
Ernest Evans.
Oh gosh, I have to look that up. See, you're blowing my mind here. Like you.
Oh
you
man,
did not
I love
go...
the Genesis. It's so good.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, I'll have like an image of that.
I'm not saying it's the best game, but it's very interesting.
It's personal to you.
It's a very interesting game.
Yeah. Not everybody's going to want to say the same thing. Yeah. No, that's great. You're perfect. Okay, this last question could go anywhere. I don't really know where I expect it to go, but who was your biggest like creative inspiration? Because you're a very creative guy, and I'd like to know. What things like Monty Python, I don't know, like what inspired you? What really kind of got your creative juices flowing?
Well, I was like classical art and painting, so I paint as well. And there's all the classics are great, but like Caravaggio, he did this deep chiaroscuro shadow kind of painting, super famous classic painter, and his art is really striking. Love that. But Salvador Dali is like my favorite, basically. I love surreal paintings and stuff like that. It's just incredible. As far as video game like design goes, I was always inspired by Treasure. All that whole team that split off and did like Contra Hardcore before that, and then they did Gunstar Heroes. I love everything Treasure does. You know what I mean? Even that Sin and Punishment 2 came out a little while ago. It's incredible.
I can actually see, like, I'm picturing Gunstar Heroes in like some of your games. Like, I can see that influence. Actually.
Yeah, it's Contra Hardcore is one of my favorite games ever. That was on the Sega Genesis.
I was gonna say, leave it to the Sega Genesis guy to mention the Genesis version of a.
It's Contra. So good. Right. Contra 3 is really good, but
not the NES or the Super NES.
No, I love it. I mean, it's just incredible. So. Yeah, like in terms of design. And actually, Dave Perry was a big inspiration when I was younger.
Dave Perry from
Shiny. Yeah, Shiny Entertainment. And Doug TenNapel is the artist there. He was really, I mean, that guy's doing amazing kid books nowadays. But
is that what's going on with
he
just disappeared, man.
Yeah, no, well, Dave Perry split off. He's like, future tech guy. Like, he does all kinds of stuff. He's like in the cloud, gaming and all kinds of things like that.
I love that kind of stuff.
But, man, when I was playing, even the 7-Up Spot game, was good.
Yeah,
that was actually a good game.
It was a really well animated.
And the same thing. I don't know. I guess I'm fascinated by games for other IP that are good. So like the McDonald's game that Treasure did was actually good. You know what I mean?
Yeah. When you were saying Treasure, I was kind of thinking. I thought they did a McDonald's.
They did a McDonald's game, which sounds really dumb, but it was actually pretty fun. And the 7-Up game was really good.
So. I remember that Spot game. Yeah, it was really.
But Earthworm Jim blew my mind. Like Earthworm Jim was incredible.
Yeah. On another level.
Like it was so much.
I hate to see that it's like there was Earthworm Jim and then 2 and then they had that was it?
They had a 3D one for a while.
It was like MDK or I don't know. It was like
MDK was okay. I was super into Shiny. Listen, like for years there, I was really happy with
their
Shiny.
sense of humor was fantastic.
Yeah, and then those other guys. I love British stuff. Like the British humor is great, but there was a group that did, it's called Armed and Dangerous was the game. Did you ever play it?
It sounds familiar.
Oh, it sounds generic, but They had wacky
The John
weapons.
Candy movie?
Yeah, they had wacky weapons, and they had like a land shark weapon. They had a weapon that was a corkscrew, and you could screw it in the ground, and the earth would turn upside down, and all the guys would fall off the level, but you would be hanging, and then it would go back. It was really funny. They had a great jetpack.
You know, Nick, I bet he probably really enjoyed that Bonanza Brothers game. Does that game?
That was too slow for me.
Oh, okay,
You know what I mean?
okay.
But I like the art. Do you like it?
I like it.
Yeah.
But I like sneaking around and stuff.
Yeah.
Like Tenchu. And he hates that.
No,
I
I
love
like to go
Tenchu.
in heads in. I like to go guns blazing.
I love
I
Tenchu.
have no patience for
He
that
has
stuff.
no patience.
You don't.
I will sit and be patient, just for that perfect kill.
Oh man,
like
the original PS1 Tenchu, like right, that blew my mind.
It
Like you
looks so
Yeah.
cool, but I'm like,
you hide on there, you wait.
you have a sword. I want to use it.
I love it's just it's so creepy that like morbid because you're like. I would just sit up there and play and go.
Oh, you're talking
dead.
Nick's language, man.
I'd immediately reset if I got spotted once.
Nick is so cruel, man.
Yeah.
He sets people
Oh
up.
man, I would hang out on the rooftop in Tenchu and just go, "Your death will come soon," You know what I mean? And then you creep over and click. Yeah, I love that game.
I'm a little freaked out now.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was all of our get to know you personal type stuff. Now I'm gonna test your knowledge on some other. I'm gonna quiz you a little bit.
Oh no. Okay. I'll try.
These are 5 questions and they're multiple choice. So you have, if you don't know the answer,
I might just say an
immediately-
answer anyway.
If you, all right. So here's the first one, and since I know you're a big arcade guy,
I want the audience to join in on this too. And see if
yeah,
they
for
can guess
sure.
it.
Audience,
guess it
if
ahead.
you know it, shout it out. If you're listening, if you're watching the video, and
We can hear you, by the way. The NSA
can.
made it work.
But yeah, so here's the first question. Okay, so what was the first ever commercially sold coin-op game? Was it A, Pac-Man, B, Pong, C, Space Invaders, or D, Computer Space?
This is not computer space. Commercially available? I'd say Pong.
Pac-Man came out in 1980. Pong came out in 1972. Space Invaders came out in 1978, and Computer Space came out in 1971.
But
1 year before Pong.
Space
I didn't think
coin-op though.
I didn't think it was an actual arcade cabinet.
Well,
was it?
according to the Wikipedia site that I checked,
All right,
you know,
all right,
you're
all right.
Wikipedia could be
Now,
right,
see,
could be
you're-
wrong.
Yeah, because you're tricking me there because I would have totally said computer
Pong.
space
Pong
was
is
the first.
immediately. If there was no multiple choice, I would have said Pong. But according to this, and it was
Okay,
released in
okay.
1971 by Nolan Bushnell and Ted Dabney.
Okay.
with that sparkly green
Yes.
cabinet.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm thinking of that form fitting. There was a real interesting form fitting kind of cabinet there for a while.
I mean, because I knew it was the first arcade game, but I didn't know it was coin operated.
Apparently, it was. Yeah. Okay. So that one, maybe we'll just give you that one. I don't know, because maybe that one's
You don't have to give it
debatable.
to me. It's fine. It's fine.
And I wasn't really sure if Pong was coin op either, so
I
would've said
definitely remember
Space
that being
Invaders.
coin op. I've read articles in the past where that was coin op. Okay, so your game is being released on Steam first, September 27th.
Yep.
So Steam is the largest digital distribution platform for PC games. What year did it first launch? Was it 2013? Was it 2003? 2008? Or 2010?
I'm gonna go with 2008 because they launched it with Half-Life 2.
2003.
2003. What did they put on it first? Counter Strike or something?
I think it was Counter-Strike. Yeah.
Okay, because I remember it got big with Half-Life 2.
Yeah, they launched it on September 11th, 2003.
Oh, that's nice.
Fun.
Okay, so I remember when all that came out, and I just remember being incredibly pissed to have to install some stupid extra thing
Yeah,
for
I
Half-Life 2.
Yeah, when
Yeah.
it first
So
came out, I was
dumbest
like,
thing
what is
ever.
this thing? Why do I
Like,
do this?
who cares about this? I just want to play
And
Half-Life.
it's so huge now.
Well, everybody was
Yeah.
figuring out their own thing, I guess, and somebody just stepped, Valve stepped up and said,
Yeah.
we got it.
Yeah.
So, 0 for 2.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay, so in the classic 1952 children's book Charlotte's Web by E.B. White, what is the name of the adorable pig protagonist? Is it A, Abe, B, Orson, C, Porky, or D, Wilbur?
What is that to give me?
Yeah. All I can think about is That'll Do Pig. from Babe. No. It's Wilbur, right?
It is Wilbur.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
that.
Ding, ding, ding.
That I
you got
actually
that
remember.
right.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
well,
funny.
I put
For
that
Bo.
question in there because
For
the main
Bo.
character in your game is a
Yeah. Yeah, you can show him the. Yeah.
So I wanted to pause and ask you, why a pig? What was the reason behind choosing a pig as your playable character?
So the original inspiration for the game came from an idea I had of creating a 4-player local co-op back in 2013 when it was still hot, like with Towerfall and everything.
Oh, yeah.
So I wanted to do a 4-player local co-op where the characters, you got points in the front and you lost points in the back. So you would always have to protect your backside, but you were exposing yourself by moving around trying to get the points. So that's why you're eating balls in the game in the local co-op mode. You eat the balls in the front, but your tail's you're sensitive. So I was like, well, if you got a tail, it'd be sensitive. But what if they have a cute little like pigtail?
Yeah.
So they turn into like these flying. They're aliens actually. They're not pigs, but they're
okay.
flying space pigs is what we kind of say.
That's amazing. Pigs in space.
Exactly.
In space.
And like everything just like made sense afterwards because we have clams that give you their pearls. So you got pearls before swine, you know, and you've got pigs that are
Shiny,
getting.
man. I'm telling you, it's the shiny influence.
Yeah, exactly. You got pigs that are getting fatter. When you take damage in the game, bacon comes out because that's funny.
Yeah.
You know, I like that.
It's
so.
really good. Okay, so you got one there. Okay, number 4. The name of your company is Mommy's Best Games. Mm-hmm. The Mamas and the Papas were a famous folk band in the 1960s. Which one of these Mamas and Papas songs is fake?
Okay.
Was it A, California Dreamin', B, I Hate Mondays, C, Dedicated to the One I Love, or D, I Saw Her Again?
Screaming and barfing. That was fake. B. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe Garfield said I Hate Mondays. Yeah, Monday was like the big
exactly.
answer. Great.
That's
Oh,
good.
you
That's
got-
funny.
all right, you're catching up. You're back
See,
to
look
500.
at that. I don't know anything about video games, but I do know about popular
He knows his
culture.
mamas and his papas.
Yeah.
You'll fit right in fine with us. Okay. So number 5, the cross-platform game development engine Unity currently is supported by 27 different platforms, including PC, Mac, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and the Nintendo Switch. Which one of these popular games was not made with Unity? Was it A, Cuphead, B, Inside, C, Hearthstone, or D, Fortnite?
Oh, it's gonna be Fortnite because that made Unreal.
That was made with Epic's Unreal Engine.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, congratulations!
Hey, I got an actual game on
You
you.
really made a comeback.
Good,
Started out
good.
0-2, you finished up 3-2. So
Okay, cool.
You're above. Okay.
All right, good.
That's great. All right, so that's all the time we have for this week's BitGeek podcast. I hope you guys really enjoyed it, Nathan. It's been a pleasure, man.
Yeah,
You've been
man,
such
super fun.
You've been such a fun guest. We are BitGeek Podcast. We're both an audio and video podcast. We have a video presence at YouTube, youtube.com/BitGeek. You can also find us on all of the major audio, platforms, whether it be Audacity, Spotify, iTunes, you name it, we're there. We have a Facebook page that Nick usually maintains for, like when we have visual cues that need posting, like people who listen, they can't see the video, so they can go to the Facebook page, and that's available at the BitGeeks. So facebook.com/thebitgeeks. You can find me on Twitter at Ron Avis, and you can find Nick
At Nicholas J. Wright.
right? And we even have our own Twitter handle that we go by for the show. It's BitGeek Podcast. Nathan, where can we find you in Mommy's Best Games?
In the toilet.
Oh, I didn't know.
Oh, look at it, Ron.
Get it set up.
Yeah.
Oh!
You can find Mommy's Best Games on Twitter at the original name Mommy's Best Games. You can find us on Facebook as Mommy's Best Games. You can find us in the toilet as Mommy's Best Games. If it's Mommy's Best Games, it's got to be good.
Just Google Mommy's Best Games and you'll find it. I've been your host, Ron Avis.
I'm Nick Wright.
And I'm Nathan Fouts.
See you later.